I was offering original art, and it was not selling particularly well. And I made it into a Patreon reward, and now it's a huge driver of Patreon pledges, which really seemed anti-logical to me. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do the same thing for commissions. And I set up a level at which you get a commission at a certain amount. And it was a tremendous driver. In fact, I had to cap it off, or else there was no way I was going to keep up. And much the same way as you, I had a pre-written kind of guideline. So when you first sign up at this level, that says,
Right.
okay, you're at this level. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're not gonna do. All right. And always in a commission, even though I have we were joking around about it, but it's absolutely true. I have much more broad level of the topics that I will accept than Dave does. But I still put a little caveat in there, and I say I reserve the right to politely decline any idea, anything that I'm not comfortable with. It's no harm, no foul. But it's just like, nah, I put that right up front so they know that that's a part of the deal. It's not a big deal. It's just that, nah, I don't want to do that. That's not going to happen. And I also found very early on that it's a good idea to not necessarily set limits, but to manage expectations. So I'll say in my commissions, no more than 2 figures and a simple background. In other words, if you say that you want 2 figures shaking hands in front of the Spanish Armada sailing down the fleet,
right, as Godzilla rises up from the sea, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do more than 2 figures. Sometimes it's like they want a whole group scene. It's like, nah, I can't do that because literally it'll be the only thing I'm working on this entire month. So manage expectations. And then what I found for my commissions is very helpful is to keep the patron involved along the way. So they will send me a write-up of what they'd like. I'll send them back at that point any adjustments that I think need to be made. Like, okay, we got to scale this back a little bit. This is a little unreasonable. Once I go from that, then I come up with a scene in my mind and I'll sketch it out. I send them a screenshot of the sketch and I say, okay, this is a scene I've got in mind. What do you think? Once they approve that, then I go on to the inks. And then at that point, changes become a little harder to make, not because I'm actually working in ink. I'm working digitally and changes are relatively easy to make. But it's harder for you to convince me once you've seen the sketch, which is usually pretty tight. You can't say, well, wait a minute, I want the sword to be in his left hand and not his right hand. Well, the sketch you approved had it in his right hand. We're going to go with the right hand. We're not going to make these kind of changes. Right. Anything you see in the sketch, you're going to see in the inks. And
so wait, Brad, can I pause you? So you do go out for clarification and approval at a pencil level, though, huh?
Yep. It saves tons of time.
Yeah, that I will be honest that I don't do that. So keep going, but I want to circle back around on that about why I don't do that. But that's fascinating and interesting and a worthwhile note that you do it. That's good.
And to be honest, I have usually very, very little changes at the sketch stage because we've discussed it already. But frankly, if they do want to make a change at that point, and if it's a change that I'm willing to accept, in other words, if it's not like ridiculous, then there's no skin off my nose. I haven't started on final art, and it's really easy to make the change. So then at that point, I move on to inks. And from that point on, I send them a screenshot of the inks, but as of now, it's a formality. Here's the inks. This is what it's going to look like. I'm going to send it to Alex Heberling to color it, and she's going to make it look beautiful. And I give them a look at the colors before I post it. And by the way, I use this as a double-edged sword for me. Not only are the commissions something that I use to drive pledges, but of course, I end up posting that content on my Patreon for everyone else to see. So I'm also using it as content. And once I post it there, they've already gotten their version. I'll send them Dropbox links to high res and low res versions. They can print it out. They can do whatever they want from it. It's theirs at that point. And I move on. But if I were to give you any 2 words of advice when it comes to commissions, those words are manage expectations. And don't get talked into doing something you don't want to do. I don't do caricatures because I don't do them well. I've not devoted the hours and hours of practice that you need to devote to become a good caricature artist. I don't do caricatures. And I'll take a quick little detour here. I try not to do licensed characters, not because I have a problem with it. Like, I don't mind drawing a Spider-Man or I don't mind drawing Luke Skywalker. But the problem is it limits my ability to monetize that image past the commission. And I end up taking these illustrations and I'll put them into art books or collections or use them in graphic novels as interstitial pages. I'll use them for any one of about a dozen different uses. I want to be able to use that image further. And if I do licensed characters, it makes it that much difficult to do. So I put the hold up sign when somebody wants a licensed character, and I tell them why. It's just something that creates problems for me licensing wise down the road that I don't want to deal with, and I'd much rather be doing my own characters anyway. And again, I think if you manage expectations up front, you have a much easier time all the way through. Don't you think, Dave?
I super agree with the phrase managed expectations.